Discovery of the Forgotten. The human exploration vessel New Dawn drifted silently through the void, its hull reflecting the pale light of distant stars. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge, her weathered hands clasped behind her back as she studied the star charts displayed on the main screen. At 42, she had spent half her life exploring the unknown reaches of space, but something about this sector felt different. "Captain, we're picking up unusual energy signatures from the third planet in this system," reported Lieutenant Sarah Kim from her sensor station. "It's faint, but definitely artificial." Elena moved closer to examine the readings. The planet appeared unremarkable at first glance, a green and blue world orbiting a dying orange star. But the energy patterns were unlike anything in their databases. Any signs of advanced civilization? "That's the strange part, ma'am. The energy signatures suggest technology, but nothing we classify as advanced. More like organic technology, if that makes sense." Dr. Marcus Chen, the ship's chief xenobiologist, looked up from his research station with interest. Organic technology. That could indicate a species that developed along biological rather than mechanical lines. "We should investigate." Elena nodded. "Set course for the planet. Standard first contact protocols." She had learned long ago to approach unknown worlds with equal measures of caution and curiosity. Humanity had made both friends and enemies among the stars, and first impressions often determined which category a new species would fall into. As the New Dawn entered orbit around the planet designated Solus Prime in their charts, the crew gathered more detailed scans. The world was beautiful, covered in vast forests and crystalline cities that seemed to grow from the landscape itself rather than being built upon it. But something was wrong with the readings. "Captain," Dr. Chen called out, his voice tight with concern. "I'm detecting massive solar instability in the system's star. If my calculations are correct, this star will begin producing dangerous solar flares within the next 6 months. Any civilization on that planet will face extinction." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. "Are you certain?" "The stellar decay patterns are unmistakable. This star is in its final death throes. The solar flares will strip away the planet's protective atmosphere and sterilize the surface." Lieutenant Kim interrupted their conversation. "Captain, I'm receiving a transmission from the planet's surface. It's on multiple frequencies, broadcast in 17 different languages." "Put it through," Elena ordered. The bridge filled with a harmonious, almost musical voice that seemed to carry the weight of desperate hope. "To any who might hear this message, we are the Kythera of Solus Prime. We have sent this plea across the galaxy for many cycles, hoping someone might answer. Our star grows angry, and our world faces the final darkness. We seek only safe passage to a new home for our people. We ask not for charity, but offer our knowledge and friendship in return for salvation." The transmission continued with details about their population, approximately 2 million beings, and their peaceful nature. They had been broadcasting this message for over 20 years, reaching out to every known spacefaring civilization in their sector of the galaxy. Dr. Chen was already accessing the Galactic Communication Archives. His face grew grim as he read. "Captain, they've contacted everyone. The Zentari Empire, the Voss Collective, the Hadari Trade Federation, even the smaller independent systems. Every single one has either ignored their pleas or explicitly refused to help." "Why would they refuse?" Elena asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. "According to these records, the Kythera are classified as a low-priority species by most galactic powers. They have no advanced weapons, no valuable resources, and no strategic importance. They're plant-like beings who practice extreme pacifism and focus on agriculture and healing arts." Elena stared at the beautiful world spinning below them. 2 million innocent lives, condemned to die simply because they weren't deemed valuable enough to save. "Prepare a shuttle. I want to meet these Kythera personally." 2 hours later, Elena and her team descended through Solus Prime's atmosphere. The shuttle touched down in a clearing surrounded by what appeared to be living buildings. The structures were organic, grown rather than constructed, with walls that pulsed gently and roofs that filtered sunlight like leaves. As they disembarked, the humans were greeted by beings unlike any they had encountered before. The Kythera stood roughly 8 feet tall, with bark-like skin in shades of deep green and brown. Their faces were surprisingly expressive, with large, luminous eyes that held ancient wisdom. They moved with fluid grace, and Elena noticed that flowers bloomed in their footsteps. "Welcome, beings of the distant stars," said the apparent leader, a majestic figure whose bark showed the silver streaks of great age. "I am Thessa, elder of the Grove Council. We had given up hope that anyone would come." Elena stepped forward, removing her helmet to show respect. "I am Captain Elena Rodriguez of the United Earth Space Command vessel New Dawn. We received your message." Thessa's eyes widened with something Elena recognized as wonder. "Earth Command, you are the young species we have heard whispers of, the ones who stand against the darkness between the stars." "We try to do what's right," Elena replied simply. "Tell me about your situation." As they walked through the living city, Thessa explained the Kythera's plight. Their star had been slowly dying for generations, but the final collapse was accelerating. They had reached out to every major civilization, offering their knowledge of biological sciences, their skill in growing food in impossible conditions, and their unique healing abilities. "The Zentari told us we were evolutionary dead ends," Thessa said sadly. "The Voss said we had nothing of value to trade. The Hadari claimed it would be too expensive to relocate so many beings. One by one, every door closed." Dr. Chen was taking readings with his instruments, his excitement barely contained. "Captain, their biotechnology is incredible. These buildings are alive, filtering air and water, generating their own power from photosynthesis. And look at this." He pointed to a garden where Kythera tended plants that seemed to glow with inner light. Those plants could revolutionize agriculture across the galaxy. They're producing food in soil that should be barren. Elena nodded, but her attention was focused on the bigger picture. "Thessa, how many ships would we need to evacuate your people?" The elder Kythera's eyes filled with what might have been tears, though they looked more like morning dew. "You would truly consider helping us. But what could we offer in return? We have no weapons, no rare minerals, no strategic advantage. You have knowledge, culture, and most importantly, you have the right to live," Elena said firmly. "That's enough for us." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of another ship, its angular design unmistakably Zentari. The vessel landed nearby, and Elena watched as Commander Jorik emerged. The Zentari were tall, reptilian beings known for their military might and cold pragmatism. Jorik's scales were a dark blue-black, marking him as high-ranking military. "Captain Rodriguez," Jorik said, his translator rendering his hissing speech into clipped, formal words. "You will cease this interaction immediately and withdraw from this system." Elena faced the alien commander without flinching. "This is an independent system, Commander. Earth has every right to be here. These creatures have already been evaluated and found wanting by the Galactic Council. Your interference violates established protocols." "What protocols?" Elena demanded. "The ones that say some lives matter less than others." Jorik's cold eyes narrowed. "The protocols that maintain order and stability. These beings serve no purpose in the galactic community. They are a drain on resources, offering nothing of value." Thessa stepped forward, her voice remaining gentle despite the tension. "Commander Jorik, we have offered to share our knowledge freely. Our healing arts could benefit your people. Our agricultural techniques could feed worlds." "Primitive biological manipulation," Jorik dismissed. "We have no need for such things." Elena felt her anger rising, but kept her voice level. "You're condemning 2 million innocent beings to death because they don't fit your definition of useful. We are maintaining the natural order. The weak perish, the strong survive. This is the way of the universe." "No," Elena said, stepping closer to the towering alien. "This is the way of cowards who are too lazy to help those in need." Jorik's hand moved to his sidearm, but Elena didn't back down. Behind her, she heard Dr. Chen quietly activating his communicator to contact the new dawn. Your species is young and naive, human, Jorik hissed. You understand nothing of galactic politics. If you interfere here, you will face consequences. Let me explain something about humans, Elena replied, her voice carrying the weight of steel. We don't abandon people just because it's inconvenient to help them. We don't write off entire civilizations because they're different from us. And we sure as hell don't back down from bullies. She turned to Thessa, ignoring the Zentari commander's visible fury. Elder Thessa, if your people are willing, Earth offers you sanctuary. We have a colony world called New Terra that could accommodate your population. It's not much, but it's safe, and it's yours if you want it. Thessa's composure finally broke, and she knelt before Elena, placing one massive hand gently on the human captain's shoulder. Captain Rodriguez, you have given us something we had lost. Hope. Yes, we accept your offer. Jorik snarled, his translator crackling with the intensity of his anger. This is not over, human. The Zentari Empire will not forget this insult. Neither will humanity, Elena replied, watching as the Zentari commander stalked back to his ship. Neither will we. As Jorik's vessel lifted off, Elena turned back to Thessa. We need to start evacuation procedures immediately. How quickly can your people be ready to leave? We have been prepared for many cycles, Captain. We need only time to gather our seedlings and our most precious memories. Elena looked up at the dying star, then at the living city around them. Then let's get started. We have a lot of work to do, and not much time to do it. Dr. Chen approached with his final readings. Captain, we're going to need at least 15 heavy transport ships to evacuate everyone safely. That's more than our entire fleet. Elena smiled grimly. Then we'll have to be creative. Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we found something worth fighting for. Humanity's stand. The communication from Admiral Sarah Chen reached the New Dawn 3 days later, and Elena could hear both pride and concern in her commanding officer's voice. Captain Rodriguez, your request for evacuation support has been approved. However, I must inform you that the Zentari Empire has filed formal complaints with the Galactic Council and is threatening economic sanctions against Earth if we proceed. Elena stood in her ready room, the weight of command heavier than ever. Through her viewport, she could see the construction of temporary habitats on Solus Prime's surface. The Kythera worked alongside her crew with remarkable efficiency, their biological technology meshing seamlessly with human engineering. Admiral, what's the official position of Earth Command? The official position is that Earth does not recognize the authority of other species to determine which civilizations deserve to survive. The unofficial position is that every government official I've spoken to is terrified of starting a war over beings most of the galaxy considers worthless. Elena nodded grimly. She had expected as much. And the evacuation fleet? 15 ships are en route, including the heavy cruiser Defiance under Captain Martinez. ETA is 8 days. Elena, are you absolutely certain about this? The Zentari have significant military superiority, and they're not known for making empty threats. Admiral, I've spent 3 days working alongside the Kythera. They're not just innocent victims waiting to die. These beings have knowledge and abilities that could benefit every world in human space. More importantly, they're good people who deserve a chance to live. I trust your judgment, Captain. Just be careful. The political situation is becoming more complex by the hour. After ending the transmission, Elena made her way to the planet's surface. The joint human-Kythera work camps had become a fascinating blend of technologies. Kythera biological constructs provided power and life support, while human machinery handled heavy lifting and transportation. What amazed Elena most was how quickly the two species had learned to work together. She found Dr. Chen in what the Kythera called a knowledge grove, a living library where information was stored in specially modified trees. He was deep in conversation with Thessa and several other Kythera scientists. "Captain, you need to see this," Chen said, his excitement barely contained. "The Kithera don't just grow food. They've developed techniques for terraforming that could transform barren worlds into gardens. And their medical knowledge, it's incredible. They can regrow lost limbs, cure genetic diseases, even extend lifespans significantly." Fessa's luminous eyes focused on Elena. "Dr. Chen has been helping us understand why other species rejected our offers. It seems our gifts were seen as threats to existing medical and agricultural industries." Elena felt pieces of a larger puzzle clicking into place. "The Zentari don't want you dead because you're worthless. They want you dead because you're too valuable." More specifically, added another Kithera scientist named Veltar, "our knowledge could make their expensive synthetic foods and manufactured medicines obsolete. A galaxy where every world could grow its own abundant food and heal its own sick would be a galaxy with very different power structures." Before Elena could respond, Lieutenant Kim's voice crackled through her communicator. "Captain, we have incoming ships. Multiple vessels, various configurations, approaching from different vectors." Elena's blood ran cold. "Zentari." "Negative, ma'am. The IFF signatures show Voss Collective, Adari Trade Federation, and 3 other major powers. It looks like they're coordinating." Elena cursed under her breath. The Zentari had called in favors. "I'm on my way up. All personnel, prepare for possible hostile contact." As the shuttle lifted off from Solace Prime, Elena's mind raced through possible scenarios. None of them were good. The combined fleets now approaching could easily overwhelm the New Dawn and prevent any evacuation. On the bridge, the tactical display showed a grim picture. 7 alien fleets, representing most of the major galactic powers, had formed a blockade around Solace Prime. The lead ship, a massive Zentari dreadnought, was broadcasting on all frequencies. "Human vessel New Dawn. This is Fleet Commander Yexte of the Zentari Imperial Navy. You are ordered to withdraw immediately from this system and abandon your unlawful interference with the natural order." Elena took a deep breath and activated the ship's communications. "Fleet Commander, this is Captain Elena Rodriguez. We are conducting a humanitarian evacuation of beings facing extinction. We have every legal right to be here. You have no rights here, human. This matter has been decided by the Galactic Council. These creatures are to be left to their fate." "The Galactic Council doesn't speak for humanity," Elena replied firmly. "We never agreed to abandon people just because it's convenient for your politics." The response came from a different ship, the distinctive angular design of a Voss Collective cruiser. "Captain Rodriguez, I am Trade Marshal Corvin of the Voss Collective. Your actions threaten the stability of established trade routes and medical supply contracts worth trillions of credits. Cease this activity immediately." Elena looked at her crew, seeing determination in their faces despite the overwhelming odds. "So that's what this is really about. You're not worried about galactic stability or natural order. You're worried about losing money." "Economic stability maintains peace," replied another voice, this one from a Hadari vessel. "Your actions could destabilize entire sectors." Elena thought of Fessa and her people, working desperately to preserve what they could of their civilization before the solar flares began. "Let me make something clear to all of you. Humanity will not be bullied into abandoning people in need. We don't care about your trade routes or your profit margins. We care about doing what's right. Your righteousness will not protect you from the consequences of this action," Yextai growled. The communication channel filled with static as another voice cut through, this one broadcasting from the edge of the system. "This is Captain Maria Martins of the United Earth Cruiser Defiance. Any hostile action against the New Dawn or the evacuation fleet will be considered an act of war against Earth." Elena's heart leaped as she saw 15 human ships dropping out of hyperspace in perfect formation. They were outnumbered, but no longer alone. "Captain Martinez, good to see you," Elena said, relief evident in her voice. "Wouldn't miss it for the world, Elena. Besides, orders from the top. Earth stands with those who need standing with. The alien fleets regrouped, clearly not expecting such a strong human response. Elena used the pause to address them all on an open channel. Representatives of the galaxy's great civilizations, you've made your position clear. You believe the Kythera should die because helping them might inconvenience you. We disagree. Humanity chooses to stand with those who have no one else to stand with them. She paused, looking at the tactical display showing the beautiful world below. But I want you all to understand something. The Kythera aren't just victims we're saving out of charity. They're brilliant scientists and philosophers with knowledge that could benefit everyone. You're not just condemning them to death. You're condemning yourselves to ignorance. Dr. Chen had returned to the bridge and was monitoring communications from the surface. Captain, Thessa is asking to speak to the alien fleets directly. Elena nodded. Patch her through. Thessa's gentle voice filled the communication channels, reaching every ship in the system. Great ones of the stars, I am Thessa of the Kythera. For 20 cycles, we have offered our friendship and knowledge freely to any who would listen. We asked only for the chance to continue existing, to continue learning and growing and sharing what we know. Her voice remained calm despite the desperate situation. You see us as worthless because we do not make weapons or conquer worlds. But we can show you how to heal the sick, how to grow food on worlds you thought barren, how to extend life and reduce suffering. These gifts we offer freely, asking only for the right to live. There was a long silence on all channels. Then, surprisingly, a new voice joined the conversation. It came from one of the smaller alien vessels, a ship Elena didn't recognize. This is Captain Thole of the Marin Republic. My government has reconsidered its position. We would like to offer assistance to the evacuation. Elena felt a surge of hope. One by one, other voices joined in. Smaller powers and independent systems began breaking ranks with the major galactic empires. Yextay's fury was palpable. Fools, you risk everything for nothing. No, Elena replied, watching as more ships moved to support the evacuation. We're risking everything for something, for the principle that every life has value, that every civilization deserves a chance to exist. The next few hours were tense as ships repositioned and allegiances shifted. In the end, the major powers found themselves increasingly isolated as smaller civilizations rallied to support the Kythera evacuation. When the first transport ships began lifting off from Solace Prime, carrying their precious cargo of refugees and seedlings, Elena felt tears in her eyes. The evacuation took 6 days, working around the clock as the dying star's instability grew worse. On the final day, as the last transport cleared the planet's atmosphere, the star began its death throes. Massive solar flares erupted, bathing the system in deadly radiation. Solace Prime's atmosphere began to burn away, but by then, it was empty of all life except the plants that had chosen to remain, their final gift to the world that had been their home. Elena stood on the bridge of the new dawn as they prepared to leave the system, watching the beautiful world die in fire and light. Beside her, Thessa observed in silence, her luminous eyes reflecting the cosmic destruction. Do you regret leaving? Elena asked softly. No, Thessa replied. A world is just soil and water and air. Home is where your people are, where you can grow and learn and share your gifts with others. Thanks to humanity, we have a new home among the stars. 6 months later, Elena stood in the new Terra colony's central plaza, watching human children play alongside young Kythera in gardens that seemed to grow more beautiful each day. The integration had been smoother than anyone dared hope. Human technology and Kythera biological mastery complemented each other perfectly. Dr. Chen approached with his latest reports. The agricultural yields are up 300% across all human colonies using Kythera techniques. The medical breakthroughs are even more impressive. We've eliminated 12 major diseases and extended human lifespan by an average of 30 years. Elena nodded, satisfied. Any word from the Zentari Empire? Actually, yes. They've quietly approached the Kythera through intermediaries, asking if they might be willing to share some of their healing knowledge. Seems the Emperor's personal physician is very interested in life extension techniques. Elena laughed. I suppose even galactic empires eventually realize that ideology doesn't cure old age. As the sun set over New Terra, painting the sky in brilliant colors that seemed to respond to the Kythera's presence, Elena reflected on what they had accomplished. They hadn't just saved a species from extinction, they had proven that doing the right thing, even when it seemed impossible, could change the galaxy itself. The Kythera had found new homes on dozens of worlds now, sharing their gifts freely with any civilization willing to accept them. The major galactic powers had grudgingly accepted the new reality, though Elena suspected they were secretly relieved to have access to Kythera knowledge. But more importantly, smaller civilizations had learned that they didn't have to accept the judgment of the powerful. The galaxy was a little more just, a little more compassionate, because someone had decided that every life mattered. Elena smiled as she watched Thessa teaching a group of human botanists how to coax flowers from barren soil. Sometimes the most important stands weren't about military might or economic power. Sometimes they were simply about refusing to let good people face the dark alone. In the distance, the first stars were appearing in the darkening sky, each one a reminder of the vast universe still waiting to be explored. Elena knew that somewhere out there, other forgotten civilizations were calling for help, wondering if anyone would answer. She hoped they were ready to find out what humanity was really made of. The silent approach. The Krellian Empire had ruled the Orion Arm for 3 centuries. Their homeworld, Krelios Prime, sat at the heart of a network of 37 colonized systems, each protected by the most advanced defensive grid the galaxy had ever known. The Krellians themselves were a proud species, tall with iridescent scales that reflected the light of distant stars, and 6-fingered hands that engineered marvels other races could only dream of. For generations, they had proclaimed their invincibility. Their Grand Admiral, Vextor, often boasted to his war council that no enemy vessel had penetrated Krellian space in over 200 years. The barrier, as they called their defense network, was impenetrable, a web of quantum sensors, gravitational mines, and automated defense platforms that extended like an invisible shield around their territory. The lesser races will learn their place, Vextor had declared during the most recent Assembly of Worlds. The Krellian Empire stands eternal, unconquerable. Many species had tried to challenge them. Many had failed. The Axoni attempted a direct assault 70 years ago. Their fleet was reduced to atoms before they crossed the outer perimeter. The Vespid Collective tried stealth tactics 30 years later. Their ships were detected and destroyed within minutes. The barrier did not fail. Until today. Commander Maya Chen stood on the bridge of the HSS Phantom, her hands clasped tightly behind her back as she stared at the main view screen. The darkness of space filled the display, punctuated only by the distant stars and the faint outline of Krelios Prime on the far edge of their sensors. Status report, she said, her voice steady despite the tension knotting in her stomach. Lieutenant Park glanced up from his console. Stealth systems operating at 99.7% efficiency, Commander. Quantum signature dampeners are stable. As far as the Krellians know, we're just background radiation. Maya nodded, allowing herself the smallest smile. The Phantom was humanity's greatest achievement, the result of a decade of reverse engineering Krellian technology salvaged from border skirmishes. Unlike the bulky battleships in Earth's main fleet, the Phantom was sleek, designed not for direct confrontation, but for infiltration. We're approaching the 5th layer of the barrier, reported Ensign Rodriguez. Gravimetric mines ahead. Maya moved to the tactical station, studying the holographic display. The mines floated like spectral orbs in the void, designed to detect the mass of any passing vessel and detonate with enough force to tear apart even the most heavily armored ships. Initiate mass shift protocols, Maya ordered. Commander Aiden Hayes, her executive officer, looked up from his station. Mass shift active. We're now registering as 1/10 our actual mass. This was the first test of the Phantom's revolutionary technology. The principle was simple: manipulate the ship's apparent mass to fool the Kryllian sensors. In practice, it required calculations and energy manipulation that would have been impossible just 5 years ago. The bridge crew fell silent as the Phantom glided between the mines. One by one, they passed the deadly spheres without triggering a single detonation. "We're through the minefield," Rodriguez announced, tension evident in her voice. Maya didn't celebrate yet. They were still far from their objective. And the hardest part lay ahead. The war between humanity and the Kryllian Empire had been raging for 15 years. It began when human colonists, unaware of Kryllian territorial claims, established an outpost on the planet Talos IV. The Kryllians responded with immediate and overwhelming force, destroying not only the Talos colony, but 3 other human settlements as a warning. Earth unified as never before, but the technological gap was vast. While human ingenuity had produced remarkable advances, the Kryllian Empire's head start of centuries seemed insurmountable. Humanity had been pushed back to a handful of core systems, their colonies systematically dismantled by Kryllian war fleets. The Phantom mission was humanity's desperate gamble, a final attempt to bring the fight to the enemy's doorstep. "Commander," Hayes called out, "we're detecting automated defense platforms ahead. Thousands of them." The main screen shifted, displaying a cloud of small, angular objects arrayed in a complex 3-dimensional pattern. Each platform was equipped with energy weapons and short-range interceptors. "This is it," Maya said. "The inner defense layer. Activate phase shift technology." The lights on the bridge dimmed as power was diverted to the Phantom's most advanced system. Unlike the crude cloaking devices of earlier human vessels, phase shift technology altered the quantum state of the entire ship, allowing it to exist partially out of phase with normal spacetime. Chief Engineer Takahashi's voice came through the comm system. "Phase shift stable at 82%, Commander. We can maintain this state for 17 minutes before the power cells are depleted." "That should be enough," Maya replied. "Take us through, Ensign Rodriguez. Minimum propulsion." The Phantom moved forward, its partially phase-shifted state rendering it nearly invisible to conventional sensors. The defense platforms remained dormant as the human vessel slipped past their watchful electronic eyes. For 12 tense minutes, the bridge crew barely breathed as they navigated through the most sophisticated defensive network ever created. When they finally emerged on the other side, Hayes let out a long, slow breath. "I can't believe it worked," he whispered. Maya allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. "Never underestimate human determination, Commander Hayes." The Phantom had accomplished what no other non-Kryllian vessel had in centuries. It had breached the barrier. But their mission was just beginning. "Return to normal phase," Maya ordered. "Restore power to tactical and weapons systems." As the ship solidified back into normal spacetime, the main view screen adjusted to show the gleaming blue-green world of Krelios Prime. Unlike Earth, with its single moon, the Kryllian homeworld was orbited by 3 moons, each housing massive military installations and shipyards. "Objective located," announced Lieutenant Park. "The central command station is in geosynchronous orbit on the far side of the planet." The central command station was the nerve center of the entire Kryllian military. According to intelligence gathered by human spies, it contained the quantum processors that coordinated the barrier. If they could disable it, even temporarily, the human fleet waiting at the edge of the system could advance. "Set course for the command station," Maya ordered. "Maintain stealth protocols." The Phantom accelerated silently toward its target, but Maya knew their luck wouldn't hold forever. The closer they got to Krelios Prime, the more intense the sensor coverage would become. "Commander," Park called out suddenly, "I'm detecting energy spikes. Multiple vessels on intercept course." The view screen shifted to show 5 Kryllian warships, massive vessels with distinctive crescent-shaped hulls, moving to form a blockade. "They've detected us," Hayes said. his face grim. Maya shook her head. No, this is a standard patrol pattern. They haven't altered course to intercept us specifically. She studied the tactical display. But we can't avoid them without significant course deviation. A tense silence fell over the bridge as the crew awaited her decision. Maintain course, Maya finally said. Prepare all weapon systems. If they detect us, we fight. The Phantom continued its approach, silent as a ghost, as the Krillian patrol vessels drew closer. For several minutes it seemed they might pass unnoticed. Then alarms blared across the bridge. Energy surged from the lead Krillian ship. Rodriguez shouted, "They're activating scanning beams." "Evasive maneuvers," Maya ordered. The Phantom veered sharply, but it was too late. The scanning beams swept across their position, and immediately the Krillian vessels changed formation, weapons charging. "We've been detected," Hayes confirmed. "Stealth systems compromised." Maya's expression hardened. "Then there's no reason to hide anymore. Disengage stealth systems and divert all power to shields and weapons. Open a channel to all Krillian ships." Park looked surprised. "A channel, Commander. If we're going to fight, I want them to know exactly who they're fighting." As the stealth field dropped, the Phantom's true form became visible. A sleek, midnight black vessel, unlike any in Earth's known fleet. Its hull was etched with glowing blue lines that pulsed with energy as the weapons systems came online. "Channel open," Park announced. Maya stood tall, facing the view screen. "This is Commander Maya Chen of the human stellar ship Phantom. Your empire attacked our colonies without provocation and has waged a war of extinction against my species. Today, we bring the fight to your doorstep." The response was immediate. A barrage of energy weapons fire from all 5 Krillian ships. The Phantom shuddered as the first volley struck its shields. "Shields holding at 87%, reported Hayes. "Their weapons are powerful, but they weren't expecting resistance this close to home." Maya nodded. "Target the lead vessel's propulsion systems. Fire when ready." The Phantom's main cannons discharged, sending brilliant beams of concentrated energy toward the Krillian flagship. The shots connected with surgical precision, disabling the larger vessel's engines without destroying it completely. "Direct hit," Hayes confirmed. "Their flagship is dead in space." The remaining Krillian ships adjusted their formation, surrounding the Phantom from multiple angles. "They're coordinating their attack," Maya observed. "Evasive pattern Delta. Target their weapons arrays." The Phantom spun and wove between enemy fire, its advanced propulsion systems giving it maneuverability that the larger Krillian warships couldn't match. Each time it came about, it fired precision shots that gradually degraded the enemy's offensive capabilities. But the Krillians adapted quickly. When direct fire proved ineffective, they launched a swarm of automated attack drones, hundreds of small, fast-moving weapons platforms that threatened to overwhelm the Phantom's defenses through sheer numbers. "Point defense systems engage," Rodriguez reported as the Phantom's secondary weapons activated, filling the space around the ship with defensive fire. "We can't keep this up indefinitely," Hayes warned. "More Krillian ships are responding to the alert." Maya knew he was right. They had achieved the element of surprise by penetrating the barrier. But now they were surrounded by enemies on their home territory. "Set course for the Central Command Station," she ordered. "Maximum speed. We complete our mission no matter the cost." The Phantom surged forward, taking hits as it plunged toward its objective. The shields flickered under repeated strikes, but the human vessel pressed on, leaving disabled Krillian ships in its wake. As they approached the massive orbital station, Maya turned to her executive officer. "Commander Hayes, prepare the package for delivery." Hayes nodded, accessing a secured console. "Package armed and ready, Commander." Maya took a deep breath. The Phantom has done its job. We've proven the Krillians are not invincible. Now we show them what happens when you corner humanity. The Central Command Station loomed ahead, its defenses fully activated and ready for the human intruder that had dared to violate Krellian space. The human factor. Alarms blared throughout the Krellian Central Command Station as the impossible unfolded on their monitors. A human vessel, sleek, dark, and deadly, had not only breached the barrier but was now engaging their home defense fleet with alarming effectiveness. Inside the station's command center, Grand Admiral Vextor's scales flashed crimson with rage. "How is this possible?" he demanded, towering over his subordinates. "No alien ship has penetrated our defenses in centuries." Senior tactician Zilna studied the battle data with 4 of her 6 eyes, while the other 2 remained fixed on her commander. "The human vessel is employing technologies we believe beyond their capabilities. They appear to have adapted elements of our own defense systems against us." Vextor slammed a 6-fingered hand on the command console. "Impossible. The humans are primitive, barely a century into interstellar travel. They cannot have mastered phase-shifting technology." "Evidently, they have," Zilna replied, her voice calm despite her commander's fury. "And they are heading directly for this station." Aboard the Phantom, Commander Maya Chen watched as her ship took increasingly heavy fire. The shields were down to 41%, and system failures were being reported across all decks. "Commander, we've got multiple breaches on decks 3 and 4, Lieutenant Park reported. "Emergency force fields are holding, but we're taking critical damage." Maya nodded grimly. "Maintain course. How long until we're in range of the station?" 2 minutes, 17 seconds, Rodriguez responded, her hands flying over the navigation controls as she executed another evasive maneuver. Commander Hayes approached Maya, speaking in a low voice. "The package is ready, but we need to get closer. Current range is still outside optimal delivery parameters." "We'll get there," Maya assured him, though her eyes betrayed her concern as another volley of Krellian fire rocked the ship. The Phantom had been designed for this single mission, to deliver a specially designed quantum virus directly into the heart of the Krellian defense network. If successful, it would temporarily disable the barrier, allowing the human fleet to enter the system and force the Krellians to the negotiating table. "Additional Krellian battlecruisers entering weapons range," Park announced. "We're being surrounded." Maya studied the tactical display. The Phantom had fought brilliantly, disabling or severely damaging 7 Krellian vessels. But now a dozen more were closing in, forming a sphere around the human ship to trap it in a field of crossfire. "They're adapting to our maneuvers," Hayes observed. "Their targeting is becoming more precise." A massive impact shook the bridge, sending sparks flying from a secondary console. "Direct hit," Rodriguez called out, shields at 29% and failing. Maya made her decision. "Initiate Protocol Omega." Hayes looked at her sharply. "Commander, we haven't reached the optimal position." "We won't get any closer in one piece," Maya replied. "Execute the protocol, Commander." Hayes hesitated only briefly before nodding. "Aye, Commander." Initiating Protocol Omega. Inside the Krellian Command Center, Vextor watched with growing satisfaction as his fleet closed in on the human intruder. "They are trapped," he declared. "No escape is possible. I want that ship disabled but intact. Their technology must be studied. Then we will finish what we started and eradicate their species entirely." Zilna was about to respond when a new alert sounded. "Grand Admiral, the human vessel is changing." On the main display, the Phantom's sleek form appeared to shimmer, its hull plates shifting and reconfiguring. Sections of the vessel separated, revealing hidden compartments throughout its structure. "What trickery is this?" Vextor demanded. Before anyone could answer, the Phantom explosively disassembled, not in destruction, but in purposeful transformation. What had been a single battleship suddenly became hundreds of smaller vessels, each barely larger than a shuttle. "Impossible," Vextor whispered. Maya Chen now sat in the command seat of a much smaller craft, one of 378 identical vessels that had comprised the modular structure of the Phantom. Each mini-ship contained a portion of the original crew and was equipped with its own propulsion, shields, and a fragment of the quantum virus. All units report status, she ordered through the newly established tactical network. One by one, confirmations came in from the other section commanders. The disassembly had been nearly perfect, with only 7 units reporting significant damage. Begin dispersal pattern, Maya commanded. Remember your assigned targets. The swarm of human vessels scattered in all directions, confounding the Krillian targeting systems that had been focused on a single large enemy. The Krillian fleet, caught by surprise, fired desperately at the suddenly multiplied threat. From the command station, Vextor watched in horror as the human swarm penetrated his defensive screen. They turned their ship into a fleet, Zilna explained, her voice betraying rare emotion. Each component is independently controlled, yet they maintain perfect coordination. Destroy them, Vextor roared. All ships, all weapons, destroy them all. But the human microvessels were too small, too fast, and too numerous. They darted between the Krillian ships, some taking hits and exploding, while others pressed on toward the command station and various points throughout the Krillian defense network. Maya's vessel raced toward the central hub of the station, dodging defensive fire with practiced precision. We're approaching the primary data node, Hayes reported. 30 seconds to optimal delivery position. Maya nodded. Prepare the virus fragment for upload. We get one shot at this. As they closed in on their target, a Krillian interceptor appeared directly in their path, its weapons charging. Evasive action. Maya ordered, but she knew they couldn't veer off course. Not now, not when they were so close. Weapons locked, Hayes announced calmly. Fire everything, Maya commanded. Their small vessel's weapons discharged, striking the Krillian interceptor head-on. The larger ship shuddered under the impact but remained intact, yet the momentary disruption to its systems gave Maya's ship the opening it needed. We're in position, Hayes confirmed. Upload the virus, Maya ordered. Hayes activated the quantum transmission, sending the fragment of the virus directly into the Krillian network. Throughout the system, other human vessels were doing the same, each delivering their portion of the complete code to different nodes of the barrier's control system. Inside the command center, chaos erupted as systems began failing across the board. Defense network compromised, a Krillian technician shouted. The barrier is collapsing. Vextor stared in disbelief at the main display, which showed the barrier, the impenetrable shield that had protected Krillian space for centuries, flickering and then disappearing entirely. This cannot be happening, he said, his voice barely audible. Zilna's attention was drawn to another alert. Grand Admiral, multiple gravitational distortions detected at the edge of the system. Ships are arriving. Hundreds of them. The human fleet had been waiting just beyond the barrier, ready to advance the moment it fell. Led by the massive dreadnought HS Defiance, the Armada of Earth entered Krillian space for the first time in history. Admiral Helena Winters, commander of the Human Expeditionary Force, stood on the bridge of the Defiance as it led the fleet toward Krillios Prime. The Phantom succeeded, her tactical officer confirmed. The barrier is down, and our advance force has confirmed multiple strikes on key Krillian defense installations. Winters nodded, her expression solemn. Send the message. Throughout the Krillian system, on every frequency and in the Krillian language, the human message played. This is Admiral Helena Winters of the United Earth Fleet. Your defenses have been breached. Your homeworld lies within range of our weapons. But unlike you, we do not seek extinction. We offer a choice: immediate cessation of hostilities and recognition of human territorial sovereignty, or continuation of a war that has now been brought to your doorstep. You have 1 hour to respond. In the command center, Vextor received the message with growing fury. They dare to threaten us. In our own system. Zilna studied the tactical display, which showed the human fleet's position relative to Krillios Prime and their remaining defenses. Grand Admiral, I must advise caution. Our primary defense has been neutralized. Half our home fleet is disabled or destroyed. The humans have demonstrated technology and tactics we did not believe they possessed. You suggest surrender. Vex Tor hissed. I suggest negotiation, Zilna replied firmly. The humans could have targeted our civilian centers, but chose military installations instead. They offer terms rather than demanding unconditional surrender. This shows restraint we have not accorded them. Vextor's scales shifted through a range of colors as he considered the situation. The Krellian Empire had never negotiated from a position of weakness. It was anathema to their cultural identity. Yet the alternative was potentially worse, a protracted battle in their home system with an enemy who had already proven more resourceful than they had ever imagined. Maya Chen, her mission complete, watched from her small vessel as the human fleet took up positions throughout the Krellian system. Of the 378 ships that had comprised the Phantom, 214 had survived to rendezvous with the main fleet. The others had been lost in the attack, their crews sacrificing themselves to ensure the mission's success. Commander, Hayes said quietly, Admiral Winters is requesting your presence aboard the Defiance. It seems you'll be present for the negotiations, if the Krellians agree to talk. Maya nodded, still watching the distant gleam of Krelios Prime. They'll talk. They have no choice now. Do you think they'll honor any agreement? Hayes asked. After everything they've done. Maya turned to face him. That's not for us to decide. Our job was to bring them to the table, to show them that humanity isn't so easily exterminated. We've done that. As their small ship docked with the Defiance, Maya took one last look at the Krellian homeworld. The invincible empire had been proven vulnerable, not by overwhelming force, but by human ingenuity and adaptability. 1 hour later, the Krellian response came through. They would negotiate. In the Grand Council chamber aboard the Defiance, Maya stood alongside Admiral Winters as the Krellian delegation, led by a subdued Vextor, entered to begin peace talks. The Grand Admiral's scales were a muted blue, the Krellian color of reluctant acceptance. You have achieved what we thought impossible, Vextor stated, looking directly at Maya. Your species has earned our attention, if not yet our respect. Admiral Winters stepped forward. We never wanted war, Grand Admiral. Humanity seeks to explore and build, not conquer, but we will defend ourselves, as we have proven today. Vextor's 4 primary eyes narrowed. Your demonstration has been noted. Let us discuss terms. As the formal negotiations began, Maya thought back to the long journey that had brought them here. The years of sacrifice, the countless lives lost, the desperate gamble that had finally paid off. The Krellians had believed their defenses impenetrable, their empire untouchable. They had never considered that their greatest weakness wasn't in their technology, but in their thinking, in their inability to imagine that a younger, less advanced species could innovate beyond their expectations. That was the human factor, the unpredictability, the creativity, the refusal to accept defeat even when facing overwhelming odds. It was what had brought them across the stars and through the barrier that no one had breached before. And it was what would carry humanity forward into a future they would forge on their own terms.